Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're getting ready for the AWS Certified Developer exam, you have got to have a solid handle on how to package your Lambda functions. So today, we're going to break down the two main ways you can do it, the classic zip archive versus the super powerful container image. So this is really the big question, right? It's the first choice every serverless developer has to make. Are you going for the pure simplicity and speed of a small function? Or do you need the raw power and flexibility to build out a really complex application? Don't worry, by the end of this, you'll know exactly which one to pick for any situation.
All right, let's dive right in with the original, the OG, the one that's been with us since the very beginning, deploying your Lambda functions with a good old-fashioned zip archive.
Yep, this has been the standard way to do things since Lambda first came out. The idea is simple. You just package up your code, you toss in all your libraries and dependencies, zip it up, and upload that one single file. It's really known for one thing above all else. It's just incredibly straightforward.
And that simplicity is the huge win here, especially if you're building smaller projects or just trying to prototype something really fast. And because AWS has such tight control over that execution environment, the cold starts, that little bit of delay when a function first runs after being idle, can be lightning fast for small, simple functions.
But here's where it gets interesting. These limitations are the exact reason why AWS eventually gave us another option. With zips, you're locked into the standard runtimes that AWS gives you. And as your project gets bigger, trying to manage all the dependencies can get, well, pretty messy. But the biggest wall you're going to hit, sooner or later, is size.
Okay, so this is the number you absolutely have to burn into your brain for the exam, 250 megabytes. That is the hard limit for your unzipped deployment package. If you go over by even a single byte, that's it. Your deployment's going to fail with a package size error.
So that brings us to the alternative. Back in 2020, AWS introduced a newer, much more powerful way to deploy our functions, using container images. And this was a game changer, because it brought the entire Docker ecosystem into the world of serverless.
This method just completely flips the script. Instead of a simple zip file, you're now providing a full-on container image. So what does that actually mean for you? It means you can package not just your code, but a completely custom runtime, specific system libraries, and pretty much any tool you can possibly imagine.
And this is where you really see the possibilities open up. You want to run a function written in Rust? Go for it. Need a specific binary for, say, image processing? With a container, you can do that. You get total control over the entire environment using a standard Docker file, and that guarantees perfect consistency between your local machine and what actually runs in the cloud.
Now, of course, with all that power comes a little more complexity. You definitely need to be comfortable working with Docker. This can also add a bit of time to your CI/CD pipelines. Instead of a quick zip and upload, you now have to build the Docker image and then push it to a registry like Amazon ECR, which can slow down your development cycle just a little.
And here is the second critical number you have to know for the exam. While zips top out at 250 megs, container images can be a whopping 10 gigabytes. This is what unlocks those huge, game-changing use cases, like deploying massive machine learning models directly into a Lambda function.
All right, time for the main event. Let's put these two head-to-head in the ultimate showdown. This is going to make it crystal clear which one you should be choosing, whether you're sitting in the exam hall or you're building out your next big project.
This table really sums it all up, doesn't it? On one side, you have zips, low complexity, easy to start, but you're hitting that 250 megabyte ceiling and you're stuck with standard runtimes. On the other side, you have containers. A bit more complex, for sure, but you get that massive 10 GB limit, total freedom with custom runtimes, and precise dependency control through your Docker file. It's that classic trade-off, simplicity versus power. For years, this was the big thing holding people back from adopting containers on Lambda. The common wisdom, what everyone said, was that a huge container image would naturally be way slower to start up than a tiny little zip file. But is that actually still true?
Well, the answer is a pretty loud no. Turns out, thanks to some really incredible engineering by the AWS team, that performance penalty is now basically a myth. As researcher A.J. Stoidenberg puts it, that penalty is all but evaporated.
And hey, the data speaks for itself. Just look at this chart. It's comparing the P99 cold start times. That's the time it takes for 99% of your function calls to start up. Once you get to larger function sizes, like around 200 megabytes, the performance is almost identical. So how did AWS do this? They use a really clever technique called on-demand container loading,
which only pulls the specific bits of the image it needs to start, instead of having to download the whole thing first. Pretty cool, right? So, if the whole cold start concern is mostly off the table, the decision really comes back to one thing. What does your application actually need? How do you make the right call? Well, the guidance is actually pretty clear. You're going to want to stick with zips for your simple functions or when you're just trying to prototype and iterate super fast. But the moment you need custom binaries, like say FFmpeg for video processing, or you have gigantic dependencies like a TensorFlow model, then containers become the obvious winner. Okay, let's wrap this up with the key things you absolutely have to know. First, remember those size limits. 250 MB for zips, 10 gigabytes for containers. Second, know that containers are your golden ticket to using custom runtimes and getting full OS control. And finally, and this is a big one, understand that cold starts are not the deciding factor they used to be. Your choice should always come down to your application's size and its complexity. So in the end, it really all boils down to this one question: simplicity or power? It's not just some small technical detail, it's a strategic choice. The way you decide to package your code today is what's going to define how your serverless applications can grow and evolve tomorrow. So choose wisely.